How's it going, everyone? Welcome to a Satsang, our continuation of our summer series with another Wednesday edition to really uplift the whole and heal our hearts. Now, there is a lot of energy going on in this universe, and especially on our home planet. Now, ultimately, the full moon just ended in the 3-day period. Now, today is one of assimilation, where we really tap into these universal energies and bring them into our own beingness for transformation, for our healing. So I welcome you lovingly to simply rest. If you're going to be lying down on the ground, I ask that you not have anything under your head. Firmly root your spine into the ground. And if you're sitting, prop yourself up in a nice S-curve position, not super tense, but just relaxed and upright. Now, before we begin, I want to lovingly invite you into the space of my own heart. So you may tap into the simple I am presence, the beingness, the isness, that is the ground of all beings. We know it as me, myself, and I. But here I offer you this invitation to let go of all that is unoriginal to you. So you may enter the ground of pure being. So you may experience yourself undisturbed. And that you may root yourself in this infinite, empty, yet full and dynamic space of love. To begin our meditation, we're going to chant 3 Ahms. But first, I want to take a nice deep breath and simply exhale and let it go like a nice sigh of relief. We'll do that 2 more times as we really relax the body. And with our final sigh, we eliminate all tension of the day, allowing all thoughts, emotions, and sensations to simply drop away from us. And as the bell fades, we allow the silence to take over, the space of our being which never left. As all emotion drops away, as if we're removing a jacket, and the mind settles into rest. And with the final tap of the bell, we fix our attention to our own observation, the seer, the I am presence within our own hearts. And as the bell fades, we simply root ourselves here. Home. In the silence, we recognize our true position. When we fully immerse ourselves in the now, we lose all concepts of tension. It's this effortless nature of our hearts, of our love. When we give ourselves fully to this moment, experience joy. It flows from us like a radiating sun. For you are light. It's this divine, loving light, this eternal flame that never leaves you. You are the energy of the universe itself. And with each breath, you have the power to liberate yourself of all tension. As we exhale, we drop away all negativity, expelling it from our body. We allow ourselves to draw in light and love with each breath. As we effortlessly sit, we sink deeper and deeper into our own stillness. And it's here we ultimately come to recognize the peace, the love, the empty dynamic space of I never leaves you. It is you. It's the random happenings of life that we oppose, that we deny, that we assume and expect, that cover up this loving light. When we attach our own divinity, our own power onto the temporary, we lose the understanding and presence that we are free flowing with life. And when we hold on to a moment, when we hold on to an emotion, thought, or sensation, it's like throwing our anchor while trying to float down the stream. Gently allow yourself to place the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And with your next breath, you draw in the love and light and power of the universe. And as you exhale gently, release expectation, release all assumption, release all thoughts and worries of the future, and simply remain here in the now. As again I open up my heart, if you lovingly accept the invitation to liberate yourself. For it is your power, it is your right and authority in this world, in this experience, to be free of suffering. So you no longer get thrashed about the shores of the tides of life, but you may sail them with ease, forever knowing the universe is the wind always in your sails, guiding you along to the destination of your heart. We tap into this universal power, this eternal force of life and love, through our own inner knowing of self. As your light of consciousness illuminates the space within, it casts shadows upon all that is unoriginal to you. It's here we identify and recognize the conditionings, the pains of the past. And through their recognition and our understanding and exploration, we free ourselves from their grip, from their cycles, as we transform their inertia into our growth. It's this light of love that is known as I am, that each of us and all beings can harness. But we may only receive these full energies of the universe when we assert our true position in this world. That your experience of I is more than just the form. And that your heart is separate from your ever-changing emotions. And that the mind is but a tool, like a radio, to be adjusted or simply turned off. For we must understand life is a game of affection. And whatever you shift your attention towards, you give life. The simplest way to turn all internal phenomena off is simply shift your attention and your love and your affection to your own witnessing and observation, to the silent seer, silent knower, yet eternal presence. Take a loving deep breath and let go all doubt, fear, tension, and negativity. For it is unoriginal to the pureness, the loving light of your being. And like a warm embrace, you may return home to the pureness that always is, in which we can tap into through the I am presence, through this full understanding of Om, the threefold chord and divine note. But most importantly, we always tap back into ourself through the silence. For even in experience, we overlook this grace that is ever present. For when we are in the flow of life, there is nothing but its pure expression. It is here we come to understand the awakening of the inner child. For when we are young, we are trusting and through the simple unknowing, the ignorance of society, we believe and assume ourselves away from our true inner knowing. And as if the red carpet is being rolled out, we embrace that younger version of ourselves, that innocent child, with open arms, hand in hand, as we walk back home, down the carpet, back into our hearts. Take a long and loving deep breath and simply rest with the lungs filled with air and light and love, as long as you comfortably can before releasing all tensions of the body. And it's here again we recognize the knowing of home, the love and peace and light within. And with your next breath, we illuminate our own radiant sun of light. So we may all shine our unique expression of the one to the world. And that with each breath, we affirm our knowing of peace. We affirm this loving space. By resting within this presence known as I am. And know that each moment we strengthen this cord, this muscle. So no matter the experience outside of our form, we may dance with grace and with a smile. As we become a beacon, a radiating source of truth, of love, of peace, and of unity. And know here that remaining in your own presence of self, you are protected. You are powerful. And thy will shall be done. Rest within your heart always. For any other space and place is not your home. Life will guide you. Life will uplift you and forever support you. As long as you remain in this knowing, you will ever be graced with love, experience, support, and the ultimate wealth. To affirm this knowing of I am, we allow ourselves to take a loving deep breath with the next tap of the bell. As we release a powerful yet calm, to crystallize this presence. So we may always have this roadway home through the knowing of I am, through the knowing of self. So we may be this ultimate expression of divine love and light. For you are life itself, embodied. And that concludes our guided meditation portion of the satsang. Namaste. I bow to the divine within you. And the floor is open for any questions. So if you have any, feel free to type those in the comments now. But ultimately, I hope that you're able to come home. Oh, namaste to you, George. Thank you. It's this loving presence of self that will give you the strength always. In truth, the question is, should thoughts and emotions be acknowledged before you let them go? How does one ensure you're not just closing them away within and holding on even tighter? I guess I should clarify for everyone. You should always try to ask just one question because it's the most important. Usually there's not really many buts or aspects to these types of things. And in truth, in terms of thoughts and emotions, simply letting go, there's a balance that needs to be established, because if one chooses to always identify with their thoughts and emotions, they need to recognize ultimately where they come from is the conditioned self, the ego, in this type of work, you could say. And the ego is always going to have problems. That's one of the things why a lot of the Western approach to therapy and healing these wounds of the heart don't always work for people, and if they do, it may not be in a timely fashion or an immediate fashion in which they seek. And that is purely because the ego is the cunning fox and coyote. It's always going to have something to say. It's always going to have an issue. Ultimately, we must address where things come from to liberate ourselves from them. But when we do this enough, we come just to recognize the path of least resistance, and the true efficient way to awaken is to just drop the ego away entirely through the understanding that it's separation. So no matter what thought bothers us, what emotion bothers us, it always boils back down to this separation. And if you prefer dualistic terms, you could think of it as fear and love. For love is inclusive and open, and fear is constrictive. It's separation. So that's ultimately where the ego is based in: fear, separation, that negativity or darker aspect of ourselves. And we really let go of it through love, because in truth, the ego is our survival tool. If you were blissed out all the time and like, oh, I love you, we would get eaten in the wild. Like if you're in the jungle and you're like, oh, pretty kitty, the tiger's going to eat you. So it's what enables us to survive. It's what enables us to reproduce in truth for when we are in the states of oneness and we are fully content and satisfied with the love and light within, we don't need anything else. So it's really a driving force and an evolutionary tool for our experience. Now, again, the biggest issue that a lot of people have from moving on or letting go of the ego is that they hold a lot of their identity and understanding of themselves within it. And that's the only reason why there's truly hesitation or doubt or fear of just remaining in that pure loving space of truth. But you have to question your own experience. And when we're happiest, when we're in the flow, quote unquote, there is no thought. There is no emotion. The only sensation is the intimate now, in which is happening in the moment. And you're not outside of it. You're embraced and immersed in it. So one could say, to kind of double back and summarize everything, condense it, the acknowledgement that we should be making with the thoughts and emotions is that it is not us, that it is unoriginal to us. Because like the clouds, they come and go. You know, when a thought comes, if you give it no attention, it goes just as fast as it came. So it's recognizing it's unoriginal to you. And that is the ultimate liberation. For when you remain in that knowing of yourself, that love, that light in which you are, everything is recognized. That is a lot of what the meaning is. You know, you are the light within that illuminates. And you cast the shadows through identifying and recognizing those thoughts. And if it casts that shadow and you're observing it within yourself, that's kind of the name of the game, that there's a seer witnessing the thought. Now, if we don't practice these, you know, the meditation and the stillness and tapping back into that love, that I am, that beingness that is pure, those thoughts and emotions become really intimate. And you may experience it as you, as me, but your thoughts and your emotions and your sensations of the body, they're observed. You're witnessing them. That's the ultimate distinction that we must recognize in order to establish the space. And most importantly, just don't worry about it. I think one of the biggest traps that people get themselves into, again, it's because of the ego, is that it tends to want to make mountains out of molehills. And in truth, it really just wants to make mountains out of anything and everything. And most of the time, they're anthills. So we have to really remain in that, knowing that that which isn't temporary isn't you. Because if we are that sadness, we would be sad all the time or mad all the time. And unfortunately, there are people that believe themselves to be that, because when they wake up, they go right back into that game of yesterday's thought, yesterday's emotion, yesterday's pain. And it kind of brings back the point of, in the meditation, it was you're floating down a river, you know, you're sailing down this river, this stream of life, you could say. And when we hold on to the past pains and emotions and sensations and thoughts, it's like throwing our anchor. Now, we experience this if you are on a boat. If you're at an anchor and trying to go, you're just going to go in a circle. And that's what we call those cyclic cycles of chaos. I love my alliteration. But it's one of those things where until we fully recognize, oh, the anchor's down, and oh, time to let it go, we bring it back, and then we can move on. You know, the things that we need to actually process and digest are simply understanding the origin of where the thoughts and emotions come from. But again, it's an efficiency about it. And when you're remaining in your pure light, it's very easy to recognize, because it comes with the layers of questioning that you can ask yourself. Who does this thought sound like? You can give it like the 5 setting questions of a book: who, what, why, when, where, and how, like all that stuff. And you can deduce the origin. Okay, well, if I'm experiencing this more than once, what other situations have I experienced this in? Well, why? Well, why do I keep doing that? Well, who does it keep hurting? There's many avenues in which you can explore, but the most important thing is if you don't question, if you don't see to observe the thoughts, and ultimately, if you don't witness your own internal environment from the knowing that your thoughts and your emotions and the sensations are other, then it's always going to remain intimate. Now, one of the biggest little nuggets of wisdom I can give you is life has a great sense of humor, and a lot of things in spirituality are paradoxical. So in order to separate yourself from the ego, I just gave it away. You have to, in order to liberate yourself from the ego, you have to separate your identity from it. So you have to start seeing your thoughts as conditions. You have to start seeing your emotions as past pains. You have to start seeing those sensations as just kind of the body that's had control for so long and doesn't want to give it back. And it's that discipline, it's that consistency, it's that affection of your own truth that gives you the strength always and forever. There's so much strength and power through your own love. And it's something I should address, because I don't like the term ego death, because it never dies. In truth, the ego is the horse. It has its own little mind. Sometimes it's hungry, sometimes it wants to go get water, sometimes it wants to get down dirty. But you are consciousness. You are the eternal. You are the spirit, the energy, the soul, whatever you want to call it. You're the rider of that horse. And thoughts and emotions and sensations are like essentially just an unruly beast. It's an unruly animal, and you just need to grab your reins, and we do that by the I am, the beingness, the love, the light. And really by recognizing the subtleties that life is always trying to present to us. Like when we feel that love from a loved one, when we succeed something and feel that, oh, I did that. Those are all but lesser expressions of your true peace within and your true loving light within. Now we all tap into that immediate flow and knowingness of just pure self when we're quote unquote in the zone. And that's really all that's happening, is that it's just an intimate moment that we call now, that you're embraced in. It's when we time travel, so to speak, when minutes seem like, or rather hours seem like minutes. And it's only when we're in the ego that minutes seem like hours. Now, again, the simplest advice I can give is to simply just let go. For when you know yourself, it illuminates all else. And in these awakenings, this awakening process, the unfoldments that arise, the first is to really be aware that you are not your thoughts and emotions and sensations, that they are just attributes of the horse. And again, we've been led to believe, we are intimately attached to this body rather than the controller of it. And there's a subtle yet distinct difference in terms of how we experientially live life from that misunderstanding and knowing of what we really are. So reaffirm your pureness, your love, your light. And ultimately, the more you remain in that pure I am, that seer, the observer, the beingness and isness of self, without any attachment, the faster you'll see things, the quicker you'll recognize and understand. Because when you give your attention to truth, it leaves no room for doubt. Believe that, know that, and come to experience that. So we'll call it. We're getting kind of late. Unless there's any other questions, we can wrap it up. But really, I just, again, always just want to say, namaste. Thank you for joining me this evening. And I love you so much. May the fruit of knowledge offer a seed. And in that seed, may your love, will, and intuition give life and nourishment. For a tree shall grow, and in its shade may you find peace, and offer peace to all who ask. Again, namaste. I bow to the divine within you. I love you all so much. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I hope to see you guys Sunday at 8 a.m. for our next satsang. I love this summer series thus far. I've gotten great messages and loving messages from you guys, and I really appreciate it. Don't forget to share. I think most importantly now, this is what the world needs, is spiritual development, this intangible and loving growth. And a lot of people are experiencing, their ascension without any type of framework or understanding of what the heck is going on. So allow yourself, those listeners, to me right now, you're a beacon of light. You're a source of inspiration for those around you. And when you let others into the world in which you're developing with love and confidence, and knowing that you are uplifting the whole through your own inner development and search for truth, it's going to start to inspire and awaken so many people. Many you may not even expect. It's often that one. But ultimately, it's that love spreads like wildfire. The truth will always set you free. And you are awakening to your own power again. You're gaining the authority back into your world and experience. And it is the right of each of us to know this. So spread your love and peace and light. And again, if you can, share. We've got to change this game, but it only happens with action. We can truly make this world a beautiful place, but it starts with each of us. I love you guys so much. Peace.